Good early afternoon. Happy Tuesday. I'm Andy Andrews. You have joined us on the Blue Plate Special live from Orange Beach, Alabama. High atop the Crystal Barbershop, we are in the financial district of Orange Beach in the only skyscraper in town. And we're right down from the Marlin statues, right around the corner from the escalator statues, which are just awe-inspiring. I mean, the Marlin statues are cool. Anytime you see a life-size Marlin statue made out of stainless steel, it's cool. But an escalator statue is not something you see every day. And we've got 4 of them here. They're life-sized. They look real. And if you visit us, you need to have a picture taken with the escalator statues and post it on social media. It's just not every day that somebody sees something like that. We have a bunch of people here in the studio with us today. We're glad and you need to adjust so that you're not having to look around that piling. You know, it makes me nervous every time I come out and I see somebody doing this. You know, it's like a chiropractic accident about to happen here. So make sure you can see well. We got a good show for you today. Heather Olson, how are you doing in Utah? Les Dawson, Dina Kilpatrick, shared. Thank you guys for sharing this on your Facebook page. Christy Woods, my sister. Christy, I got to tell you, I was nervous for you in the first half of the game the other day. Christy went to the Alabama-Tennessee game. And we were watching from home, and in that first half, when Alabama was like playing like Faulkner State, I thought, I can't believe my sister has gone to an Alabama-Tennessee game to watch Alabama just like die a dramatic death. But it wasn't even a dramatic death; it was to die a boring death against Tennessee. And then they came out in the second half, and they were same old Alabama. But anyway. Thought about you. Donald and Evelyn Perry from Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Glad to have you here. Edwina English. And I did get the dog tag and picture of your Uncle Reagan. Thank you for doing that. Marcy Coster Taylor. It's only 47 here and going to rain in Pasco, Washington. So the professional noticer today, did you see that? You did. I was amazed by him. Chris, he's got a book out called 4 Billionaires and a Parking Lot Attendant. And it's a fascinating book. But, oh yeah, the guy just happens to be the 4-time international whistling champion. And we find this out on the air. So I said, okay, whistle something. And you got to hear this. This was pretty amazing. Maury Davis, how are you doing, buddy? We're going to... What was the word today? Unhumble? I think that's a verb. We will unhumble him. Sandy Wilson, Bonnie Reggette, thank you for sharing. George Cosser, Big G, Northwest Mississippi, thank you for checking in with us. I wonder if Bob Woodall's on here. Mimi Shepherd, Montana. In the house. Shepherd is a great last name for somebody that lives in Montana. Linda Alexander, Joyce Green from Greencastle, Indiana. Wow. Named after your family. Janice Queen, North Carolina. You like the North Carolina shirt? That's what you call it. It's actually the Books for Veterans shirt, but we will let you call it North Carolina blue. Leslie Ann Tarabella. Leslie Ann, you can't whistle? Leslie Ann is one of the contributors for WisdomHarbor.com and an author of great books. You can't whistle, though. She's an author. She's a great author, but she can't whistle. She's on Wisdom Harbor, but she can't whistle. Yeah, she does Bet You Didn't Knows and audiobooks, but she can't whistle. Not a lick. Okay, Karen from San Antonio, Texas, down the Riverwalk. Linda Bartholomew, a lot of people talking to us today. We want to go into today. We're going to play a game with you, okay? And we'll take the temperature of the studio audience here as we're doing this, and we're going to let you guys vote on what you think. And we would like you guys at home to put your vote on here too, okay? So we want to hear what you think, because we're going to go in for phrase origins today. Where did this phrase originate? Like the first time anybody ever heard it or used it that way, or where did it come from? And I think you'll be surprised. Let's start off with the green-eyed monster. Okay, now that's talking about jealousy, right? So, but who first used the term the green-eyed monster to describe jealousy? Was this from television and movies? Was it from literature? Was it from somebody's grandmother? Or a religious text? Okay, so raise your hand in here. TVs or movies? Okay, old literature? Somebody's grandmother? A religious text? Okay, we only had 2 votes for literature. The green-eyed monster was first presented from Shakespeare. Othello, Act 3, Scene 3. Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds upon. Othello, the green-eyed monster. So, Shakespeare. How about stumbling block? It was a stumbling. Now don't. I see you over there. You can't use your Google. This is like the 8th grade, and you're over there cheating. You're looking at your poem. Yeah, I can't believe it. Check him. Does he have like notes written on his arms or something? Golly, I mean, Julie, put a check beside his name on the board. Good grief. Okay, stumbling block. Stumbling block. Did this come from literature? Did it come from a television show? Ooh, Heather McQuaig and Maury Davis got it. Know where it's from? Raise your hand in studio audience if you know for sure where it came from. Okay? The Bible. And God is talking to Moses in Leviticus 19:14, and it says, "Do not curse the deaf. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind." Okay? So, the Bible, and how, that's just a common thing now, but obviously not everybody knows that came from the Bible. All right. Breaking the ice. You know how you're going to get to know somebody, you're going to have to break the ice. So where's that from? Literature? Religious text? Fraser? Roll on down there, Matthew. Do you know? Anybody have any idea? Shakespeare, again. The Taming of the Shrew, Act 1, Scene 2. And if you break the ice and do this feat, achieve the elder and set the younger free. Taming of the Shrew, breaking the ice. Shakespeare. All right, the term a bucket list. This one actually surprised me. Anybody know? Heather and Maury quiet on this one? Yeah? Okay. Well, believe it or not, there was a movie with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, and it was titled The Bucket List. And that movie popularized that phrase. It's the idea of making a list of must-do items before you kick the bucket. And that was the first anybody had heard of that? That's just...
I mean, can that be true? I remember watching what was it? The movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. You remember that from like the 60s, I think?
Yeah.
And I remember the opening scene. The guy drives his car, off of the highway in California or something and crashes way down. And I remember in that scene, he's laying on the side of the mountain, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, is he about to die?" And there happens to be a bucket sitting next to him, and he just kicks it off the side of the cliff.
Oh. Kick the bucket. But the first time it was ever actually used as the bucket list.
That's true. Oh, that's true. Okay, you're right. I'm mixing that up. Kicking the bucket.
You're talking about
list.
kick the bucket, man.
Yeah. I'm just
We're talking about the bucket.
stuck on buckets.
Pay attention, man. All right, how about this one? The blind leading the blind. Oh my God, that was a case of the blind leading the blind. Kind of tough without Google over there, isn't it? He's like, I don't know. I don't know idea. The blind leading the blind. TV, movies, grandma. Marcy Crosser Taylor got it. Becky Ottenberry got it. Heather McQuaig got it. Karen Sutton says her ex. Denny Kilpatrick got it. The blind leading the blind is Matthew 15:14. The Bible, if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a ditch. Jesus is talking about the Pharisees. And so that's where the blind leading the blind came from the Bible. Okay, this is a great one. This one is going to kill you. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. You've heard that, right? We've heard that. Okay, you've heard it. You might know where it came from? No? Because this is one we pay attention to around here. Because if, there's a red sky at morning, the charter boats are like, okay, keep an eye on the weather. The red sky at night, it's going to be great the next day. So red sky at morning, sailor take warning. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Who said it? Believe it or not, Jesus. Matthew 16:2-3. When the Pharisees are trying to discredit Jesus, they tell him to show some great demonstration in the skies if he is God. And Jesus answered, there are already demonstrations with meaning in the skies. When evening comes, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, today will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Matthew 16:2-3. How about that? All right, what about Google as a verb? To Google something as a verb. That too was Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't Jesus. telling the Pharisees, have you Googled the Sabbath? Okay, so this one, if it wasn't Jesus, probably wasn't Shakespeare. To Googleth. This was actually invented by Buffy on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a television show. It was the first time anybody had ever used Google as a verb, as in Google him to find out. It was done on the Buffy episode Help in 2002. And the character of Buffy asked the character of Xander, a guy, asked, have you Googled her yet? To which Xander replies, she's only 17, which requires them to explain it's a search engine. So it was just a few months later that the American Dialect Society selected To Google as 2002's most useful new word. Do you know that in that same year, I had written the book, The Lost Choice. And as I turned it, this is turned into one of my many publishers' ridiculousness stories. But I had in there the somebody using Google search engine, and the publisher, the editor, just stood down, would not let me use that because they said, you know how fast businesses come and go. You'll put this in here and it won't even be a company a year from now. Right. And so if you look in there, it says use a search engine to find, it's like, good grief. Okay. Now, back me up just a little bit, Matthew. Okay, so what is this one? So tell me, go down just a little bit. Yeah, okay, okay, you can go back to the top. The phrase is all of a sudden. And apparently, until, they can actually track when all of a sudden was first used. And apparently, until all of a sudden, the term was exclusively suddenly. It was always suddenly, but it became all of a sudden in The Taming of the Shrew, Shakespeare. Act 1, Scene 1. I pray, sir, tell me, is it possible that love should all of a sudden take such hold? Apparently, Shakespeare might have thought that all of a sudden was a more poetic way of saying suddenly. So he had the character Tranio in The Taming of the Shrew say it that way, all of a sudden. But that was the first time anybody can ever find that in anything. How about this one? Another one bites the dust. Dun, dun, dun. Bites the dust. So where did that come from? Movie, song, ancient text, literature, the Brady Bunch? What do you think? Another one bites the dust. The Bible. The Bible. My sister says Queen. Yeah, the Bible. Psalm 72:9. King David is praying for his son Solomon, who will be the next king. And his prayer is, may desert tribes bow down before him and his enemies lick the dust. I've kept lick in there because some translations say bite, others say lick. I think it's nastier to lick the dust. I don't know why, but and maybe Queen should have used that. That probably wouldn't have been as big a song. Dun, dun, dun. Another one licks the dust. and another one doesn't. I mean, right? Maury Davis says I'm killing you with the Bible quiz. Are there some that you don't know, Maury? All right, how about this one? Nip it in the bud. I know what you're thinking, because you've heard it, right? But you're gonna, it's, I mean, the only time I've ever heard this in my life is from the Andy Griffith Show, right? Barney goes, nip it in the bud. And there's one point where he and Otis are having a fight and they're yelling at each other, and instead of, you know how sometimes you go, no, 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 Barney starts going, nip it, nip it, nip it, nip it. But the term nip it in the bud comes from the garden-friendly world of the 16th century. The term nip originally meant to pinch or squeeze. And a bud was an actual bud, like the kind of bud you find on plants before they bloom. So to nip it in the bud meant to pinch off the bud of a plant or flower that was considered more of a weed before it had a chance to bloom. The original version, from a metaphorical view, was really nip it in the bloom. Okay, which is how Henry Shedden cited in his romance book published in 1595, a romance book. I don't even understand the title of this. Piers Plain's 7 Years Apprenticeship. How would you know that was a romance book? How would you pick that up in the bookstore? Oh, a romance novel. Anyway, the words were, extinguish these fond lose with mind's labor, and nip thy affections in the bloom, that they may ne'er be of power to bud. Whew. I need a translator for that translation. But I figured I'd give you the scene where Barney first used nip it in the bud. This is Barney and Andy talking. And Opie has been running with a gang of 8-year-olds. And, you know, they've been playing on the sidewalk and getting in people's way, and Barney's upset about it. And Andy says, Barney, they're just a bunch of kids. Barney says, well, today's 8-year-olds are tomorrow's teenagers. I say this calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud. First sign of youngsters going wrong, you gotta nip it in the bud. Andy says, I'm gonna have a talk with them. What else you want me to do? Barney says, well, just don't mollycoddle them. Andy says, I won't. Barney, nip it. You go read any book you want to read on the subject of child discipline, you'll find every one of them's in favor of bud nipping. Nip it in the bud. Marcy Crostato says, my brothers used to say, nip it in the butt. I'm confused. It's not nip it in the butt. Another one, bites the butt. It's not nip it in the butt. Okay, it's not. How about a drop in the bucket? Where'd that come from? A drop in the bucket. Man, that's like a drop in the bucket compared to everything we got going on. Where did that come from? The Bible. Isaiah 40:15. Behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket and are accounted like the dust on the scales. Okay, how about one fell swoop? Anybody? One fell swoop? Shakespeare. Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 3. He has no children. All my pretty ones. Did you say all? Oh, hell kite. All? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop? Macduff says this after he finds out that his family and servants have all been killed. Shakespeare's use of the hunting bird's a fell swoop imagery reflects the ruthlessness and the deadliness of the attack. But back it up. I think the funniest part of this is the cussing. Back up, back up, back up. Right there. I mean, you've heard people say hell. You've heard people say hellfire. I've heard people say hell almighty. But I had never heard a hell kite. I think that's going to be my new cuss word. Oh, hell kite. Hell kite. That's going to be my new cuss word, Matt. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I love this one. Where did this one come from? You the man. You the man. Huh? You might know. Where did you the man come from? The Bible. The Bible. 2 Samuel 12:7. Then Nathan said to David, Thou art the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. I anointed you king over Israel and I delivered you. Thou art the man. So Nathan is the one who said to David, You the man. That's what God said. God said, I anointed you. You the man. You the man. The Bible. All right. How about, I think this is our last one, isn't it? Yep. Okay, last one. Nimrod. Nimrod. I mean, today, to call somebody a Nimrod is like a moron or an idiot. You Nimrod. Right? Okay, so it was first a term in the Bible because Nimrod was a descendant of Ham, represented in Genesis as a mighty hunter and a king of Shinar. Okay, so that's the first definition of Nimrod as a mighty king or hunter. But the second definition, these are in a dictionary. The first one is a mighty hunter. The second definition is a foolish or inept person, a doofus. That's what it says in the dictionary. Okay, so in the Bible, Nimrod is a hunter, a king, and a close descendant of Noah. But in a Looney Tunes episode, Bugs Bunny called Elmer Fudd a Nimrod in a sarcastic manner. And after this cartoon, the term has forever and ever been used in lieu of moron or idiot. So Bugs Bunny was just quoting the Bible. Just, Bugs and the Bible. That sounds like a good book, doesn't it? Bugs and the Bible. Bugs Bunny and the Bible. Looney Tunes and the good book. Bugs and the Bible. You Nimrod. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. Well, we have had now wasn't that more fun without cheating? I mean, what if we let everybody cheat like that? Oh my gosh. You know, when you speak at these big conventions, sometimes they'll put the screens in front of you, and they'll try to give you the highlights of, and that bugs me. I can't look at that because then I'm trying to read, and you know they call it what do they call that? Notes or help or. Yeah, but I know what my 8th grade teacher called it: cheating. You know, you're looking at notes, you're cheating. Martin says, it's funny because Elmer was a hunter, so he fits the biblical term. How about that? I didn't ever think about that. That's very good. That's very good, Martin. And Maury says he's no longer a Swiftie, he's an Andyite. Thank you. Thank you. She can afford to lose a fan. You know, Taylor Swift. I don't dislike her, but I don't get it either. I mean, she's like Elvis. I mean, she's like Elvis and the Beatles. It's just, I mean, I hear all these people, you know, paying hundreds of dollars to go see her concert, and then people can't get tickets, and then I saw last week, you know, she's dating a Kansas City Chiefs football player, okay, and the word got out that she was going to a game, and the ticket prices increased 40% because she's going to the game. So think about this. For a long time, people just couldn't afford to watch Taylor Swift. But now you can't afford to watch Taylor Swift watch something. Dorothy Melvin, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you. And are you okay? Are you okay? Dorothy says, what's insane is we have a chain of shoe stores in Israel called Nimrod. Wow. Dorothy is my great buddy, longtime buddy, who lives in Israel right now. Dorothy was Joan Rivers' manager, and we got to be great friends, longtime friends, and have stayed friends. And so, Dorothy, you, if I am correct, you live on the northern border. You live on the Lebanon border, and so the first attacks came from the southern border, but now they're lobbing missiles over the. And so Dorothy says it's tense. So, Dorothy, we are praying for you guys. I'm praying specifically for you, and we're praying for the nation of Israel and for your protection and your guidance. And so, man, please keep in touch. This is just, and what are you doing watching me? That is amazing. But maybe I could always take your mind off things. So, glad you're here. But please be careful. Please be careful. We love you. And thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.